everybody. I would like to introduce you Lovegrove. I'm very proud to have him here in Milano at the Politecnica of Design. We knew since a long time, and for me he's a special designer, not only as designer, but as man. His sensibility, his idea of what is going on, his love for arts, for science. To talk with him is a sort of experience, not only in design but in life. His clarity is also very excellent, and my best compliment. Is very nice. You can talk with him about everything, very direct, and quite rare this field of design. Now full of style of design. They pass through, they say bye, they go on, because this is a mood in this moment. I know a lot of them, that they are to be like on the stage. And Moroso is never on the stage. He's always between the other, talking with the other, trying to understand the personality of the people, and talking friendly with all kinds of people. I think it's enough. Something, and you can understand his quality. Okay.
Thank you, Christina. I always know when she's saying that I look very elegant, that she's trying to pick me up, basically. And if you think that's working, you're right. Well, anyway, it's the White Hair Club. That's what it is. We look after each other. I was at the airport the other day, and there was about 30 old people on a trip, and I sat down and it blended completely, you know. It was quite depressing, but yeah, we've known each other for a long time, but you know, Christina here used to have the most incredible red hair. And my greatest moment was when she decided to go white. Yeah, because there's a moment when you've got to sort of come out. You know, some people say, well, I'm gay. And other people say, well, I really got white hair, but I've been dyeing it for all these years. You know, I dye my hair to look like this. I shave my hair. It's the look. It's the look. Anyway, I'm going to show you here something tonight, which is... It's actually a lecture that I gave recently at Harrods. Normally when I'm giving a talk, I make a new talk. You know, I don't show old stuff. I am trying to stay very up to date. And it's a way of always continuously looking at your work as a body of work, as individual projects. And I was telling one of the students today that people like me, or the people that you might read about who seem to be very coherent, people like Konstantin Gricic or whatever, they're coherent because they see their work as a life's work. They don't see it as individual projects. And that is a beautiful situation, because it means that you believe in what you do, and it means you're there till the bloody end of this thing. And everybody that I meet that has ever done anything incredible, they live to a very old age, because it's the creativity which is keeping them moving. It's, you know, I'm not waiting to play golf when I'm 65. You know, I might design some golf clubs, but I won't play the golf. You understand me? What a waste of time. Because you have such a small window in which to be creative. And I've always always said it's important to have time to fail. So you've got to find that time. So anyway, I gave this talk recently in Harrods in London, and Harrods have a thing called icons, and they put your face all over Harrods and the whole thing. And I never do anything in London, by the way. I don't work in Britain. Nothing happens to me in London. The Design Museum doesn't ask me to do an exhibition. Nothing. It's okay. I mean, maybe when I've got black hair, maybe they'll give me. So I don't worry about that. But they asked me to give a talk recently, and I said, yeah, I'll do it because it's London. And they said we're going to do it in the loading bay of the store, right, which is a very low-level industrial space with trucks. And they set this show up. It was really good. And but when I arrived, they actually sent me I don't know where this car came from, but I've driven in better cars in parts of Egypt than this car they sent to collect me. I thought, Harrods, they look after me. And they sent me the worst car. I mean, I don't know where they found it, but a driver that didn't know London. And he took me right through Hyde Park. And I suffer from hay fever really badly, so I got this injection of hay fever just before I'm about to give a public lecture. So I actually went to the pub instead. Didn't tell them I was going to the pub. And I had 3 vodka Red Bulls to try and get myself moving. And they were calling me, where am I? I was down the pub. They were all waiting for me. Anyway, let's get going here. How do I open this stuff? Slideshow, is that it? Oh no. Yeah.
Stefano.
Is this one? Or does that work? Look at it here. Okay. 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 Yeah. Design, nature, art. DNA. Yeah, I like that. I really like it. And that's my work. That's what my work's about. It's about design. Design by design. It's influenced by nature and the rules that apply or don't apply, and my love of art. And I see industry as an art form. I don't see it as a disposable culture at all. And Andy Warhol made facsimile prints of his work, and they're considered valuable. So why is not a repeated object like a water bottle valuable? So the value exists because of the effort that you put in at the beginning, culturally, to define something that's never existed before, but with purpose, whether that's emotional purpose, whether that's functional purpose, whatever your purpose is. He defines something which has a reason to exist. That's how I think. Okay, some years ago, a couple of years ago in fact, I was invited. Christina, could you be my secretary tonight? Could you press the button for me? Get that? No, she's very cool. That finger, that's a killer finger she's got there. When she touches that button, it's incredible. If you met her husband, you'd understand. Okay, so Cranbrook Pavilion. Cranbrook is a university in the US. It's in Detroit. It's an amazing university, and it's designed by Ali Saranen. And it's a beautiful campus. And I've lectured there before, and there's a gallery in New York called Max Protege. And they went to Max and they said, look, we'd like to develop a project for a pavilion in the grounds, in the garden of Cranbrook, which is an amazing situation. And they went to about 6 or 7 people, I think. It was a kind of competition, but a cultural competition, meaning you design it, they make models, they show it, and then maybe they build one or two. And the project was for music dance. We're going to work with the Martha Graham dance troupe, who, by the way, Issey Miyake interacted with, and culturally wonderful, and musicians. So the concept of a pavilion for me, as somebody who's interested in structure, new materials and so on, is different than when you see a pavilion by Oscar Niemeyer at the Serpentine in London, which is very permanent. You know, I think a pavilion should be something that's anti-gravity, very mobile in some way. Now they went to the usual gang, which is, you know, Herzog and the Moron, Bernd Koolhaas, Zaha, Shigeru Ban, Greg Lynn, and Talando. And they also come to me. So when, you know, I'm trying to impress you saying that, but that tells me something which really turns me on, is the idea that I'm recognized as somebody who has something to say in a field that I'm really not in. And I'm the only designer that's ever been invited to talk at the International Architects Congress like the one in Torino. The only one. I did the one in Istanbul, and they put me on at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, oh my God, they did that just because I'm a sideshow. And I had the same amount of people as Zaha Hadid. I had almost 5,000 people. I was mobbed. Well, that's good. And that gives me the sort of impetus, the energy to want to go on. So I'm going to show you what I did here. I'm interested in the evolution of architecture in relation to materials and technology. You know, the Romans used concrete. And I don't know why we should be making buildings from concrete, which is heavy and dense. And when you make concrete, you need to make more concrete to support the concrete. It's a never-ending, ridiculous spiral. And with it, you get massive density. That's something which doesn't change. Now, that doesn't mean to say I don't like the material. And if you do go to somewhere like the Vanessa in south of Japan by Tadahado, when you see well-made concrete, it's really fabulous. So modern concrete is incredible. And I might have said before that people like Tadahado used my work in his work in order to bring the love and emotion back in through the shadows and the interface of organic design with linear design. So anyway, this was my approach, which was the idea of maybe making a dome, an open space, made from the minimum number of carbon fiber components at the maximum scale that you can autoclave and manufacture carbon components. Next. My concept was that I create this net-like structure, and then what I do is I fill it with different materials, because I'm interested in adaptive geometries, meaning that the architecture it reacts in its skin to the environment, which means if you want the building to breathe, you put net systems in here. If you want photovoltaic panels, maybe you put them up here. If you need windows and so on, you need doors. So you create a skin which you then fill in with the materials of orientation. Next. Like that. So you fill it in. And this is kind of product design, this is industrial design thinking, but applied to architectural space. I'm also curious of maybe how somebody like Mr. Fuller, if he was alive today, how he would have reacted to the potential of new materials. You know, it's not very easy to live in a house like that. The tests that they did in the US, nobody wanted to live in any of those Dymaxion houses because you go nuts because you're going around in a circle. So there are emotional problems with these type of structures, but this is a pavilion, so it's an interactive space. But what I'm interested in also is this wonderful proximity of materials. You know, real materials have fabulous textures, and I generally don't paint anything. I'm interested in real materials. I like skin, I like hair the way it is, I like real materials. I don't like those sort of fake things. And also, you know, we paint cars today, and if we just stop painting cars, we could really save a lot of our water systems. You know, but why isn't somebody working on a technology so we don't have to paint cars and save all the paint? That's a big deal. That's without changing the car, by the way. That's just an easy one. So does a car work better because it's glossy red, like a Ferrari? A Ferrari is a Ferrari without paint. So there's an honesty in the proximity of materials, and it's of our age. It's the composite age, where we compose things, and things have texture and details. This is very beautiful, I think. Okay. This is a diatomic structure. It's a radiolaria, and these are made from silica, and they float in the ocean, and they're microscopic, and they're millions of years old. That's my dream. That turns me on. Because I want to make things with this level of liquidity and complexity. I really wish I could make things like that. And my chair for Moroso, for example, for Politecnica Moroso, investigates some of this way that the material flows. You see details like this in my chair. Not because I copied this, it's because that's what nature does. My chair has holes in it, not because it looks cool, it's because you don't need that material. Nature removes anything extraneous. It is the master of economics. And with it, you get beautiful objects. Wow. So you get logic and beauty. I think that's incredible. So we make a study like this, where I take a base form, which is a simple geometry like a sphere, and then I start to play with how I can construct that sphere. And some of these are really, really very interesting things, you know, like this. And I work with Matthias Barr. Matthias Barr was working with Zaha Hadid. He joined me for 2 years, and that's the kind of work we do. We work on advanced geometries. Next. And then I think, well, maybe the sphere is the better option, because wouldn't it be amazing if you could roll architecture? So that promotes lightness, because you can move the building, you roll it. And it means that, for example, in a cheap way, if you fill these panels here and it rains and you roll that building, it becomes a roof. Understand? So my idea was to build this 8-meter diameter composite carbon sphere that then the dancers would interact with. Next. Next. These are the components. We've got 4 components that arrive like this. Next. And when you put it together, you get that complexity. Look how complex that is. You looking at that thinking, wow, what's that thing? But actually, it's not complex. It's 4 pieces repeated. Your mind reads complexity, and because you have the other surface at the back coming through, it is constantly creating secondary apertures which create complexity. And I think complexity is a religion of beauty. I love complexity. And I'm one of the only designers that talks about complexity. The only other designer I ever heard say that was Sotsas, just to provoke, because he was sick and tired of people talking about minimalism and whatever. Minimalism without meaning is just cheap. Minimalism happened because manufacturers thought this was a joyride, because they could make simple boxes easy in the factory and sell them for a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort to make form. Huge amount of effort. We don't get credit for it. It's at least 5 times the work. It's 5 times the understanding of linearity. It's really, and when it goes wrong, it's awful. When organic design goes wrong, it's really awful. So, you have to live with that possibility. We built this typography, which was a landscape, which the building itself would roll on. And it's called a superimposed landscape. This is architectural thinking and architectural work. At the moment, I have 4 architects in my studio working on advanced geometries, incredible things, which I don't know what I'm going to do with. And I pay for that, because I think there's a moment when design needs to learn from architectural process, and it's now. And then design will explode with biodiversity. It's boring at the moment. Okay, so, skyscraper. So we say, what have we learned from that process of structure? And what would happen if we put it into a skyscraper? So the elements which are vertical are also promoted horizontally. And you get, again, this kind of weird systems logic that creeps in. Next. You get structures like this, where internally this bone-like skeletal logic is evolving horizontally at the same time as working vertically. They're the corn cob buildings in Chicago, and I can't remember the architect, but they're incredible. They got there from the 60s, and they're made from concrete, and they look like a corn cob, and they're some of the most beautiful structures in the world, and they have accommodation here, car park here, and you can park your boat there. You park your boat from the canal, get out your boat, you go into your apartment, or you get in your car. I mean, it's great. I'm not saying I'm going to do this here, but what we've been looking at is three-dimensional elevator systems. So through the building, the elevator moves and delivers you to different points. Okay, next. Next. Yeah. You have a drink? Some years ago, I was in Thailand doing my yoga, and I read in the paper that George Bush refused to ratify the Kyoto Treaty. The man is a complete criminal. You know, we penalize and imprison people for doing things. And you can send somebody away to jail for having some marijuana in their pocket for 3 years. But you have a guy like George Bush who doesn't believe in the world whatsoever. He's an absolute criminal. So when I read that, I was horrified, and I thought, right, what can I do? So I thought, I want to do a car called Kyoto, because the car is the icon of this problem. Because it's a byproduct of the oil industry, the car. So I thought, let's take the car on. Maybe I can go to Toyota and I can do a car called Kyoto. So I got in touch with them, and they didn't want to know, of course. So I did it anyway. So I worked on this study, which was taking my research out of carbon into the car. A car is made from between 20,000 and 30,000 components, the average car. That means that's 20 to 30,000 bits of resources which are taken out of the earth and translated into something. That's 20 to 30,000 things which go wrong, and 20,000 to 30,000 things which need to be recycled. And nothing gets recycled. That's a joke. So why can't we do a car with 300 components? I mean, I don't know why can't we car with 300 components. I mean, this is not a show here, but could I have 3 people just, can you come here? Just you 3, can you come here? I'm not going to make you do anything. Okay, can you stand there? Just stand there. There's 4 people. So why do we need a Hummer? Why do we need a truck that big when we're 4 people? This is all it needs to move 4. You need a simple little space to move 4 people. It's all wrong. It's absolutely all wrong. That's it. Okay. I was going to make you do that naked, but I'm going to do it. Sorry, later. No, so what you see here is what I can deliver as a minimum structure. If we go next, Christina, can we just go? Yeah. So I study water droplets. When you see a water droplet on a hot surface, it makes the most amazing shape, like a surface tension shape. And I've always thought, ooh, that's the shape of a car. That's what I want to see moving around in society. So I work with carbon, which is very light. And I make the wheels in an advanced way, and I use natural rubber. I was taught in college, because I went to the Royal College with car designers, and they all make the wheels this big, because they look sexy and they're all at an angle, and that's how they render them. I was told that actually, if you want to reduce friction, you reduce the thickness of the tire. Most trucks that go across the world, they need to be aerodynamic, and they're not. but they lose more energy through friction of the wheels than they do through aerodynamics. So it's kind of weird paradoxes in society. So I think thin wheels, like on a bicycle, are a measure of progress. If you ever see a photograph, by the way, and I've been meaning to do this in lectures, and I never had time, is I'd like to get a picture of the first Daimler Chrysler car from 1884, which has 4 very thin wheels on it, a sofa, and an engine. And put it next to the new Daimler Chrysler and talk about progress. Because the first one is much more progressive. Because it's the spirited, instant reaction, or it's a spontaneous reaction to need. And all we've done is fattened and made heavy, and we've designed stuff. We haven't really thought about the composition. Okay, next. It has some quite nice details. All the lighting is bonded onto the windscreens like this, so they're just glued on. Next. This is the rough composition of the car. Next. Okay. This is the work I do for myself. And I just, we just went to an art gallery and we were talking to some people. So I work, as you know, I work conceptually. So I build things for myself, but I'm interested in technology. So when you make things for yourself, working with technology, it's very, very expensive. And also I'm not interested in doing things to be tasteful. I'm interested in really core ideas like OE, organic essentialism. Organic essentialism means organic. That's the way I think. It's very 3D, very polysensorial. Organic in the way that we produce form, because organic form is the least pretentious form there is. We evolve. Look at us. There's nothing extraneous in nature. And nature is all organic. There are no straight lines in nature, except in certain crystals or an eyelash. So I do this kind of research into materials, form, and structure. I'm not really interested in what it is, but sometimes you need to make an object that somebody recognizes in order to communicate. So, next, Christine. These are computer renderings of a table called ginkgo carbon, like the ginkgo leaf. And the ginkgo leaf existed when the dinosaurs lived, and it still grows. You can touch a ginkgo leaf. So a dinosaur could have eaten a ginkgo leaf. And you go out, you can touch a ginkgo leaf. 50,000 years ago, you could have eaten an apple. And we have this impression that our ancestors were so different and so out of touch with who we are, but they had things that we had too. So this is a computer rendering of a table, and because what I try and do is visualize as accurately as possible my visions, because that helps me, and I have people who help me do that. Next. That's the underside. And what I'm looking for is what I call a trinity of material, technology, and form. That means nothing more or nothing less. That's where the essentialism comes in. That means nothing less or nothing more than you need. I'm looking for, I'm looking for fitness. I love fitness in people, I love fitness in food, I love fitness in society. So when I smell car fumes on the street, that's not fitness for me. I think society is just working below its potential. I think it's way below its potential. Okay. Anyway, so this is what I study, these things. And this is the data that I generate to do this work. And you can see it on the screen here. This is real data. It was generated in my studio in order to create that form. Now, what I love about this, I come into my studio and I see this stuff on the screen and it blows my mind. I mean, it's incredible. So what I do with this is these are blown up around that size, a bit bigger, and they're printed by a company in New York that prints for all the greatest photographers, the best printers in the world. they're called dupen. And they're bonded onto aluminium, and they're sold as art, because I think this is art. Yeah, so this is the only time I use color is in process. So if you want one of these, that's $25,000. Okay. Cheap, if you know what I put into what I do. Okay, so anyway. Okay. Next. Well, that's real data. I didn't make that up. I'm not doing it to show you. This is what happens in the studio. And internally inside that table is an injection molded polyurethane shape which divides the two skins of carbon. Because when you see things which are made from carbon fiber, like a racing car or an aircraft, you get one beautiful side and then you get one very poor side, because the process leaves you this kind of rumpled skin internally, so you never see the inside. I wanted to produce a piece that was beautiful underneath as it was on top, and it's incredibly sophisticated in terms of change of thickness and proportion. And I spent about 3 years doing this. Okay, next. Again, the data. Next. The process. So we take my data and we mill directly into hard foam resin. Okay? This is a process that architects use more than designers, but it's becoming a fairly normal process. So I send my data to a company and they build this thing. Sorry, Christine. And that's the real thing. Okay? So, and I'm putting creases in here in order to create stiffness, but the stiffness is like on a leaf in nature. And if you see a sculpture by Henry Moore with the skirt of a woman, you see these creases. If you look historically at marble sculpture and the way the creases work, it blows your brains out. It blows your mind. These shapes that come from putting a surface over another surface. I mean, if you look at Bernini's sculptures, they're masterpieces. You see the body inside. There's no body. I mean, it's just a piece of marble. It's incredible. Next. So again, the real thing, and you see the fingers creeping in, and that's two people holding something like that, just like that, because it weighs less than 5 kilos, this table. And it's beautifully made. It's made by an aerospace company that made wings for the A380, and I was telling somebody earlier that even if you don't like the table, you have to respect the fact that I can go to a company that makes wings for the A380 and get them to stop making a wing for an A380 and make 12 tables. That's amazing. And they do that because the work that I do for them is very advanced, and they learn from me, and they feed it into their process and improves their process, so that's why they do it. But to do these 12 tables, my tooling costs are around £120,000, and each table costs about 20. So that's 12 times 20 plus 120, that's, I don't know what, that's like £350,000. That's 420,000 euros to make some tables that I don't know if I'm going to sell. That's how I spend my money. My staircase in my studio, I could go and buy an Aston Martin if I want, but I don't. I built the staircase because I want to leave some, I want to prove what I want to do without having to beg clients. I don't want to go on my knees and beg a client to do something that I really believe in, that they don't care about, or they can't market, or they want to influence. That's what true art is about. It's about a single voice. Design is a multiple voice. Okay. And this is how I showed them in New York. I did a show called Endurance, and the show was called Endurance because I'm sick and tired of designing things or working on design which is so impermanent, it's disposable. And I'm not a disposable person, and I don't like disposable things, yet I work in that field. So my show is called Endurance because I want to prove to people I can work on enduring ideas and objects with a degree of permanence. And they're shown this way. And we were talking about the Issey Miyake and if you remember that show, all the things were floating in the air. I took that idea from my show. I'm telling you honestly, I remember that, and that's why I show my tables like this. Next. This is, again, the data, and there should be a movie. I don't know if this is going to run. You can try it. No, okay.
No.
It's a movie, but it doesn't really matter, okay? It doesn't look like it's going to run. But that is an incredible, like a rostrum camera movie that flows around the object. And I went to special people to do that, like special film people. And when you look around, you don't know what you're looking at. You're looking at a landscape, you're looking at architecture. You lose complete scale. Right? I do that, and it's a pity I can't show you that because that's really lovely. Okay?
Now,
Yeah, right.
this one.
Yeah. I'm trying to develop ways to communicate which are contemporary, because I just don't like going to lectures where people press a button and there's a still image, and then, you know, the designer or whoever says, I did this, and then after that, I did this, and then after that, I did that, and then I did that. I mean, it's so childish. It's not three-dimensional, because the creative process is incredibly three-dimensional. We just haven't found a way in order to explain that. When you go to see a movie, it's often incredibly polysensorial because you have sound, you have vision. Normally this has sound. And in New York, I used the sound. It was amazing because it had very strong air conditioning in this gallery, which sounded like you were on a spaceship, like an astronomer. So I just kept the sound of the air conditioning, and it was just kind of... And it was really weird. It was fabulous. And I've done shows in Japan where I've actually made sound that sounds like deep space or deep ocean. And it changes the way you perceive things. And you know, I know from time to time, people say, hey, let's find a groovy way of showing products. Let's do a fashion show where everybody's carrying a chair. I mean, how ridiculous is that? So maybe we should be working more with animation, more with the way that we can show the fabulous nature of form, more than the static object. Because when we engage things in real life, like people or objects, it's super 3D. You have a lot of senses working on you that turn you on or turn you off. You have a very three-dimensional relationship with those things. So I think incredibly three-dimensional. I can visualize things like you can't believe. And I used to draw photorealistically when I was young, and then I stopped because basically I stopped drawing a violin. And I started to use those skills to visualize things that didn't exist. So you can visualize things through your imagination and make them feel real. That's what I do. But this describes my process. The process of creation and formation of single-skin deformation objects, things which are absolutely cooked just perfectly, because there's nothing more or nothing less than you need. That's an intellectual position, which is not something you can buy or read about in a book. It's something that I believe in, and when I'm gone, this stuff represents me, not my work for Tag Heuer or Puccini or whoever. It's fun, it's okay, but it's not me. It's me plus whatever. Okay. Oh, grazie mille. I have one later which is really good too. So then the chance comes up for me to take everything I know, put it into society through an industrial process. So all the things I've learned, an opportunity comes. So I get a call from Globetrotter. Globetrotter is a British company owned by Japanese. It's a Japanese company. And they make suitcases, Belgium. And they make it from a fiber board material impregnated with rubber. It's called vulcanization. It's nothing to do with Dr. Spock. Okay? It's called vulcanization. And 110 years ago, they invented this case, which is lightweight, strong, waterproof. It was amazing, this case. And it has these corners, and it's an iconographic suitcase. Everybody had them. The Queen had them, Churchill had them. My father had them during the war. And so when they called me, I thought, wow, great, because I like the cultural challenge of a historical company about not who they were, but who they could be. So when a company like Globetrotter comes to me and says, could you design a new suitcase? I go, ooh, fiber, lightness, evolution, modernity, carbon fiber, possibility, now, need. And the need now for lightness is super important. Last year, 4.2 billion seats were sold on aircraft. That's not 4.2 billion people, that's people like me flying every week. You know, so that's 4 flights a week times 50, it's 200 flights a year. That's people like me. 4.2 billion seats on aircraft. China hasn't started flying. India hasn't started flying. We're on a meltdown. Go to Mount Penza on a busy day. You want to hide in a corner or die. Because it's so vulgar, it's such a mess. Heathrow, shoes off, belt off, and what's that? Creams. I mean, it's a misery traveling today. And when I'm on the plane, I go into Zen mood, where I go, because I don't like confinement. So I hate the experience. And if I go from there to a restaurant where somebody's elbow is, I go nuts, because I'm confined like an animal. So I go into Zen mode, but I tell myself that flying is still an incredible experience, because we're above the clouds, and I still don't know how it works. So lightness for me is really important. And the suitcase is an opportunity for me to define my beliefs. When I'm there and they're pushing duty-free trolley next to me, I cannot believe that in 2008, the third my name, somebody's trying to sell me a bottle of whiskey in an aircraft. The weight of that whiskey, if you fly that bottle of whiskey to Tokyo, the amount of fuel you use is the same as the bottle of whiskey, to fly a bottle of whiskey. I mean, it's madness. What do they make? They maybe sell 200 euros worth of stuff. How cheap is that? So we have a real problem, because people get on aircraft and weight costs fuel. And now the world is waking up because we have a fuel issue. Thank God. And in my books, I write about all this within these men. So they asked me to do a suitcase. So I do this, they don't ask for this, but I do this cultural thing where I research baskets, how people carry things, especially ikebana, how you weave things. I go back into history because our ancestors made what they carried. And because they made what they carried, they made it lightweight. I mean, I'm going back in time, where it was their absolute prime objective to make it as lightweight, reliable, durable, because their life depended on these tools that they made. And here we are, we go to the shop and buy it. I think it's disgusting. So we have a moral and ethical responsibility as an industrial designer to use everything that we can do to improve life, to improve civilization. So lightness is important. If you're allowed 9 kilos with carry-on luggage, and your case weighs 5.5 or 6 kilos, that means you can carry whatever it is, 3.5 kilos, 4 kilos of stuff. So I'm thinking, well, that's madness. So I use all my knowledge in my research to do this case, and I work with Toray Corporation in Japan. Toray are the makers of triaxial carbon, and it's the latest carbon technology. They're the biggest producers of carbon in the world. And again, I'm thinking, why are they working with me? Because we don't sell that many of these cases. They make no money, really. And they are a support to this company. And it's because I was told 3 months ago that they're using my invention to work with Honda on cars. So I am funding, and I like it actually, I like the idea that I'm helping industry go through a new revolution. I think it's really important. So this case here weighs 1.35 kilos. It is absolutely lighter than that bottle of water. When you pick it up, it's unreal. 1.35 kilos. So it's the lightest rigid case on the planet. So it's not a suitcase, it's an act of humanity. And it's £1,000, which might sound like a lot of money, but if you buy cheap, you buy twice, handles come off, things break, it's irrelevant. The price of a day return business class ticket to Milan is about £1,000. So I would say to my client, hey, let's talk on the telephone, and I'll buy a suitcase that'll last forever. You know what a nice thought. So this has started to become an incredible revolution, and I could give you a complete lecture on this product, but just enjoy it for what it is. This is the computer rendering. Next. You might look at the handles and think, oh, that's a funny handle. Well, handles that do that might look like a handle if you're a child drawing it, but handles, you need to open your hand, not close it. A comfortable hand opens your fingers, doesn't close it. So it works like a spring, and it bounces, and it opens. It's a really lovely thing, and it's never existed before, but that comes instinctively in the process. Okay? It has the quietest wheels ever made. I mean, one of the reasons for that is when I'm going through the airport, if there's somebody walking faster than me with a very noisy trolley, I get stressed because I think I'm going to be run over. And you watch me going like this, not go like this. Because I can hear these people going to run me over. And that's lightweight wheels. Silence in society is very important. It has this special handle system. These are all computer renderings. It's all in carbon. Next. Like that. Next. And then these are meetings. I get sent a shell. It just comes wrapped in something. And there's a little bit of tape on it. And it says 530 grams. I don't even get a message saying hello. It just says 530 grams. Because our objective is lightness. Not to talk about the weather, it's about light. Next. Yeah. This is the material. Okay, next. These are all the prototypes. Next. Meetings in Japan. This is Yamane Corporation. You know, you fly in, so this 14-hour flight or whatever it is. It's 2 hours from the airport. You go straight in the morning into a place which has no windows and no air conditioning. And you're running a meeting like this, and they all expect you to be like super excited and super alive, and you feel dead. You know, and they hang on every word you say. So whatever it is. Okay, next. Next. I've been trying to get no lining in the case because the lightest lining I can make weighs 400 grams. And if you've got a case that weighs 1.35 kilos, that's a big percentage of the weight. So I say to people, put your laptop in your sweater. Put your recharger in your socks. Use your clothes as your lining. Say 400 grams, because if there are 4.2 billion seats in the world times 400 grams, that's a huge amount of weight. I mean, just the logistics are very beautiful in industry. Next. This is, we did a launch in Tokyo, and this is a happy journalist from Issey Miyake, and they're very happy. And you know, the Japanese get all this; they understand all of this because they have an innate respect for materials and newness and objects. I love Japan. Japan is the design center of the universe. They work with materials in an incredible way, in an old way and a new way. They have no inhibitions. They know the essence of material. Tokugen Yoshioka's sense of material is incredible. And when he does a telephone, and he does the advertising for the telephone, which has got a rubber coating, he dips it in red gloss paint and then holds it. Sophisticated, beautiful. You know, knocking what they do. What the car companies do, they got the babe in the seat, they're driving fast, the dust's coming up, and they're going through the desert. Well, I don't know anybody that drives like that. It's going to drive a Golf and pick up Claudia Schiffer. You've got no chance. So this is the real deal. And I don't know if you can see from here, but my shape is pressurized. My approach to the design is pressurization. So you make a box, you don't need to make a funny shape, because things don't fit in funny shape. And funny shapes don't fit in overhead lockers, and funny shapes get on your nerves. You give them a box that's very functional, and you just do it really well. But then what I do is I blow some air into it, and that gives me my form. Oh, this is good. I actually work on bicycles, and there's a couple of lovely Danish people here. And so I work with a few companies in Denmark. One is Biomega on bicycles. I work with Louis Paulson on lighting. I work with a lovely company whose name I can't even pronounce, but she invited me to go to Copenhagen, and when I went there, she was an ex-model, and she was really beautiful. She said, "Would you design a chair?" And I just said yes. Complete slut, complete prostitute. But you know, I get something out of life. I think it's method, and I can't remember the name of the company. It's so complicated. And George Jensen just called me and wanted me to do something. So you know, there's a geographical shift in what I do. So I work on bicycles there, and I've been working for 6 years on my bamboo bicycle, which is just sort of coming out now. This is the company that did Mark Newson's bike, which is very beautiful. I think Mark's bike was a real breakthrough in design, and so it's a great honor for me to work with a company like that. And I almost do it for free because I just love the culture. So I'm doing a carbon one called BioLove, and I'm doing the bamboo one. And after my showing in New York on my limited editions, my overwhelming reaction was that maybe I should do a limited edition product. That was my reaction. Not to do a piece of art and say I'm an artist, but to apply that to a bike. And we've been working for that period of time on carbon fiber frames. And I have these amazing models in my workshop looking at skeletons, and they're pretty cool looking shapes. But you know, I'm not happy most of the time because something bothers me, and I'm not going to have it made. I want to wait until I got it. And I was coming back from Japan, and I thought, what would happen if you take the material from the bicycle frame and stretch it out and make an exoskeleton, not a skeleton, an exoskeleton, like a turtle, same amount of material, and then find a way to manufacture something in the simplest way possible. So like an airfix bit, you make these bits, you drop the wheels in, you close it, and you've got a bike. So next, and you get a thing like that, right? Next. Ooh, look at that thing. Right? Look at that. I'm really happy with that, as you can tell. I came up with this skin, so the whole typology has changed overnight because of that switch in the thinking. It's completely friendly because it's all completely contained. The wheels are embedded. And this is interesting because these are the handlebars. And the handlebars come from saying, put eggs in a tube where you need them. So if you want to ride like that, or there, you put them where you want them and then you join them together. How long did that take you, Tanya? 40 seconds? That's how long it took me to design that stuff. Breakthrough stuff, and you change the aesthetics of objects. You produce things that feel like they're part of nature, but they're absolutely not. I mean, they come out of people like me. So, that's the side of the bike here. It's got a gel saddle which comes out of it, so there is adjustment. And it's got high precision in the carbon, so you only have that split line. And just because I do like Puff Daddy and stuff like that, I do these gold. Because I can afford it. Because I made this super lightweight bike, so I said, okay, I'll do it. That's how I am. They're totally unnecessary, but they do look really cool. So next. So then I'm thinking, because I work deeply within the environment, and I'm going to talk about that now. You imagine you have this surface in society. Well, you imagine if you embed that with solar cells. You ride this bike and then you get off, and then you park it in the sun. That's a recharging, that's a solar panel. Can you imagine cities full of these things that just recharge in the sun? Or schools, whatever. You can't do that with a normal bike because you've got no surface. So I love that idea, the idea that you generate energy to recharge your phone or your laptop, or gives energy back into schools, or just give energy to people. Yeah? I love that idea, and nobody's ever seen a thing like that. That is absolutely completely new. Never existed before. And it comes through a sequence of thinking that is forcing out something that should exist. Okay. Solar trees. Okay. So I know it's a little bit hot up here. People get a bit sleepy, but I'll move on. Last year I was contacted by the MAC, which is the Museum Angewandte Kunst in Vienna. Peter Nerva is the director. Look him up. He's one of the most famous kind of art guys in the world because he's a total terrorist in art. He pushes all the time, and he works with people like Franz West. He does the car. His museum is designed by Jenny Holtz from Donald Judd. You walk in the carpet room, and there's a friend of mine from Persia. We talk about what does Persia give us, and we talk about rugs. You walk in the rug room, and it's freezing cold, and it's all done in concrete. But it makes you think about the rug in another way. It's kind of interesting. It's the only place I know like it. So he called me one day. He says, "Hey, Ross, I came back from LA, and they're going to put these lights around my museum, and they're new, but they were designed 100 years ago." He says, "Help me." I said, "Well, what am I going to do?" What am I going to do? He said, "You know people. Let's do some lighting." So I said, okay. So I called Ernesto Gismondi from Politecnica. I said, "Ernesto, meet me in Vienna next Tuesday." He says, "What for?" I said, "I can't tell you now, I'm busy." He said, "Who pays the ticket?" I said, "You pay the ticket." So I called Reinhard Hochner, who's the head of design for Sharp. Sharp is a $20 billion company. And I said, "Reinhard, come to Vienna next Tuesday." He says, "Why?" I said, "I'm busy. I can't tell you." He says, "Who pays the ticket?" They all do this. Yeah? Business. Anyway, we all meet in Vienna, and I say, "Right, Peter has a need. Ernesto, I'm going to design this solar tree thing, and you're going to make it and distribute it worldwide. And Sharp, you're going to deliver the technology, and you'll blend it." It's kind of important people, but they trust me because it's a cultural thing. And commerce and culture are intertwined, and it's a great opportunity. So what we did, this is the first computer stuff. Yeah. Next. I'm looking for the icon of a tree. This comes very reflexive. It comes in minutes, and then this is really the only way you can collect energy like this today. So I make these heads, and these are steel tubes. The steel tubes are really cheap, and you can bend them in an interesting way. So I'm thinking about the economics of it, the strength, how we do it. Anyway, okay, next. We work with my 3D printer. We start to explore forms and so on. Next. Well, we do this kind of stuff. It's very simple, but it's looking at how to have no tooling to make this lamp with no investment. Next. The technology itself. Next. The intensity of the light using LED technology in synergy with solar, because this is a wonderfully compatible moment for that. And these given incredible performance levels. Next. And then this is the visual. This is not real. This is what I want to do outside the Mac. This is my dream. Next. And this is the installation of my tree. We made one tree for an event. No, this is, oh, that was a movie. But the next one's maybe more important. But that's the tree on a concrete block. Now, what's special about this is it's off-grid, which means you don't put it into the energy system, the grid. When you want to put something into a grid in a city, it's a nightmare with politics. And it's worse in Vienna, because Viennese politics is the worst in the world. They argue all the time, and they don't want anything. It's the most static city there is. They're protecting something, I don't know. So this was a real ordeal. So it's off-grid. You can put them anywhere you want. They have 10 heads, of which only half of that generate. They all generate electricity. They feed it down into a battery here, and it's fed back up. And you get this incredible light performance. See that? So, next. That's the thing. That was with a bag over it, because we did this amazing launch with a big silver bag. And then I had a guy who makes music through his throat. Weird. And 1,000 people outside over our television, the whole thing, midnight, and they pull this thing off, and there's this tree, and it's a fantastic kind of experience, the whole thing. Next. And so then we put it outside Scuola, in Milan. Next. And we put it in this eco-design thing that Gilda did, which I thought was a good idea. I thought it was a terrible event, because eco is so important, and they chose all the wrong people. I mean, I love Gaetano, but Gaetano never did anything with eco, and Bellini never did, and Stark is a joke in this, okay? So I'm there on stage with my subject, and it's falling apart around me, and I felt really uncomfortable. I did, because I'm the real deal. I mean, I did my first eco thing when I was 16. I built a window when I was 16. I've been doing this for years, so because I believe in it. So anyway, we did this. This whole thing, without this one, that's the concrete base, because it's portable, you know, it needs to be sections. If you go back one image, all that I showed you, the whole thing, 12 weeks, me and my assistant. And that's not what I do. I mean, that's extra. I got 85 things I'm doing at the moment. And we fit that in. They say, come to Vienna tomorrow morning. I said, well, I'm in Barcelona. They said, well, okay, I've got a flight and I'll do this and I'll meet you and I'll do it. And I didn't get paid. I did it, again, as an act of humanity, because it needs to exist. If I said I want to be paid, it wouldn't happen. Because that would stop the whole thing. You do this, and then the world starts to see it. Without any publicity, proper publicity, the world starts to see it. I've been approached by 25 separate countries to buy this tree. The city of Damascus wants 1,000 of them. The biggest botanical gardens in the world, it's in Atlanta, they want them. The most progressive factory in the world wants them around their factory as a symbol of modernity. I mean, it's exploding. It's exploding as a phenomenon. And I have actually a meeting on Friday about all of this. Yeah, we're looking at Chinese or Italian manufacturing. So that's where we are right now. And it just proves that it's something you can do just out of belief. All the stuff you do out of belief goes well. All the stuff you try and analyze and market and say, oh, they will like that, you get it. You've got to be instinctive. Okay, next. Next, yeah. Now, where's, oh, yes, this will run. I think this will run. Yeah, let it run.
No, stop.
No, let it go.
I go?
Go. No, go back. Go back. Leave it. Press the button. No, wait, press the button once. No, we missed it.
No, I mean, maybe.
Where's our man?
No.
Go back again. Go back again. reality, this is the dream. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to make an object which is delivered compact, so for shipping. You plant it, and it opens and adapts to sunlight. So the tree itself follows the sun, like a sunflower. I want to do that with memory metals or whatever I need to do when I'm working with arrows right now, to see if I can make this kind of thing happen. Imagine in the future, if all the things around us become adaptive and responsive in society, how beautiful society will be. Wow, I really don't know how to do that, but I'll do it. I don't know how long it will take, but I'll work with emerging technologies to make this happen. I think we can move on. I think there's nothing more to see really. I'm losing weight up here. Go back. Yeah, go back. Back. Let's talk about environmental ideas, technology, digital, and how we can change the physical forms of the things around us in a really fabulously positive way, because now is the time. Windmill concepts. I told you I designed a windmill and built it when I was 16, and certainly when I was 16, none of my friends thought that was cool, and my parents didn't understand anything. So I've been doing this a long time because I think it's the way to go. So what I don't understand is why people think windmills are ugly, when in fact what they do is so beautiful in terms of just trying to get some energy for free from somewhere. We should be doing anything we can right now in any way to get free energy, so it's non-fossil fuel energy. So I was thinking maybe the reason people think windmills are ugly is because they're a blade. They're like a knife blade that rotates. They're actually the most efficient. Tri-blade ones are the most efficient by a long way. But I was thinking maybe digitally there's another way that we can develop form that captures wind in a blistering, in a different way, maybe in cities. So we started to look at this. Like these things. This is not my research, but this is where nature meets technology, which meets materials, which meets sustainability, which meets need, change. I'd be happy to live in a world with stuff like this around me because it's like art. Yeah. And how you can do that in different ways. Yeah. We make studies like this, scientific studies of how to develop form. And then we look at applications, to see what we can do with it. Ideas like this, where a ball rolls in a ball, which is like a tumbleweed, new ideas, new aesthetics. So my absolute position, the way I try and tell people what I do, is that I want to be the one that gives this super incredible form to all this stuff. I really don't care about Dr. block chairs or anything like that. That's somebody else's life. My life is about this. And I think there's an exciting new aesthetic that's emerging, which is sort of between beauty and logic. Yeah, next. Stuff like this. Next. Okay. Car and a stick. Car and a stick. Okay, cities. 70% or more right now of the world population live in cities. And cities don't function. And they don't function because of cars. Cars create all of the air pollution, they create all of the acoustic pollution. They're not efficient. They're the size of small elephants. They are big, these cars. And they've snuck up on us, they've creeped up on us. And we haven't noticed how many there are of these things. And the psychology of them, the psychology is terrible. Every street, everywhere, is full of cars. The cars are parked everywhere. You see more cars than people. You don't see people, you see cars all the damn time. And it's exploding. At the moment, in China, 2.8% of Chinese own a car. That's 30 million cars. And they've said that the Chinese economy and manufacturing capacity is not going to decrease until their living standard is the living standard of the United States of America. 88% of Americans have cars. If 88% of Chinese have cars, I'm going to build a space rocket. I'm going somewhere. Because that's 1 billion cars, all running on fossil fuels, and that's just China. So then we have Mr. Tata, loving. He decides he's going to make a car for India, and he says, let's do a car that costs $2,600 because people can't afford a car, so people have to be in cars. Well, if you ever been to Mumbai, I mean, you can't walk. I mean, how on earth are you supposed to drive a car? And it's fossil fuel driven. It's not compressed air. It's nothing progressive. It's just cheap. That's a disaster. You know, that's not me being antisocial about Indians. But I know that their life might improve a bit. It won't totally improve because of air pollution and all the other problems that cars bring. We need cars. We need to move around with shopping and old people. We need them. But we need to be more democratic about cars. I think in the future, people will not own their own car with whatever style car it is. I think that's possibly not going to happen. I think it will be a sort of democratic allocation process, if that could ever be democratic. So I think that cars should be developed to be compatible with progressive new architecture and progressive new thinking in cities. And I think cities are filthy, they are dirty. You go to a rainforest, you can lick a leaf in a rainforest and you don't taste anything. You wouldn't do that in a city because it's covered with carbon particle pollution. The air is filled with PM10s. PM10s give you lung cancer. We don't talk about it, but it's there. So it's so uncivilized for me. I grew up thinking the future was all squeaky clean and new and white and bright. Yeah, that's how I see the future. And maybe I'm the only one, maybe I'm wrong. But it's not happening. We have all of the ability to make anything we want, and we still make these cars which do 15 miles to the gallon. Ferrari in London, I mean, the average speed in London is about 14 miles an hour. So somebody in a Ferrari is an idiot, if you think about it. You know, that's not my thing. A Rolls Royce in society, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a Rolls Royce or a Bentley in about 5 years' time. On maybe 30% of all newspapers globally is an article about the environment every day now, and the problem hasn't started. So you guys, you got to stop thinking about doing a funky thing and a funky thing. You got to deal with this because this is really funky. And you name a designer who does anything. Think about it tonight. You tell me in the morning which designer you know that does anything about this. None of them. Look at Mark's luggage. It's lovely. It's orange. It falls over, gets dirty. Sorry, I like Mark. He's a friend. But the luggage is ridiculous. That's what I mean? It's the colour of my Japanese friend's t-shirt. Well, lovely, but it's not taking us anywhere. I think the revolution is all in this kind of stuff, and it's ours to lose. So something like car and stick is a suggestion. If we could move on next month. I have this idea about a car, and you know the form I made. Maybe, I know 15 years ago, if somebody had said, make this incredible Aston Martin, I would have said yes, because I can make form. I know. But it's wrong for me to make form when we should be dealing with issues. It's wrong, and I can't live with maybe cars should be gentle and spiritual and Buddhist and passive and feminine and quiet. So I decided I'm going to make a bubble. And actually bubbles are quite interesting because they're quite cheap to make because all these parts rotate here. This is a solar canopy, you have 4 seats, you can put your luggage in here. And this is a compressed air cell in here. What happens is, it works with GPS technology and motion sensor technology. So basically, and both of those things have existed for years. So you tell it where to go and it takes you where to go. So you don't have to drive and you can talk to people and you can look out the windows and enjoy the architecture. People can look at you and say, well, that's my friend. Instead of people in tin cans, arrogant, music on, big SUV, it's all one. So this aesthetic comes out of a belief in lightness and simplicity in a sense. And then what happens is you drive onto this thing, you get out, and then it lifts up. And what it does is it's recharging during the day. And at night, it's a street lamp. These are lights. So it's not a car, it's a street lamp. Next. So this is outside Sendai Mediatek in Sendai, Japan, designed by Toyoito. This is a computer image, of course. But this shows you what happens when you put modern design next to modern architecture. Because modern architecture is really progressing right now, and it's pushing its way through. It's fabulous. And industrial design needs to keep pace with that. So context is everything. Yeah. So that looks pretty natural to me. By the way, this is an amazing building, Sendai. It's a Mediatek system, and it has these amazing net-type systems. And I designed the whole top floor of that. And Toyoito asked, I love the building. I saw it at the Venice Biennale. Didn't know Toyoito. I got a phone call saying, can you design the top of the building? Didn't know him. What a joy. I never even talked about it. But it was a beautiful project. So, next. And then this is in London next to Gherkin. And again, real situations mean I think this architecture endorses the car, and the car endorses the architecture. If you ever remember, you probably never saw this, but if you look on books of Le Corbusier and you see Villa Savoy, you turn the page and then there's a car next to it, you nearly drop down. Because the house looks really modern, but the car is like way out of date. Well, I think that way now. I think that architecture has got the lead on all this other stuff. And all the logic of how you make and use affects infrastructure. So it means that if you want to have a good ride, maybe all the surfaces here could be incredible materials. I mean, it could be super flat. So you walk, if you ever walk across a piazza that's made from marble, you feel different. Because suddenly it's like an inside material taken outside, and it's a gift to society. When I showed the lamp in Vienna, one journalist said, well, you know, Mr. Lovegrove has a very nice super, no, I should say. Yeah, but you know, this is very expensive object, and how can you justify making it outside? This, you know, I said, look at that car. And it's a Mercedes. So that Mercedes parked on the street. It cost €140,000. It's parked on the street. If the only things we put outside are cars, I'm off the planet. We've got to start believing in people that they're not all vandals and not everything outside is concrete and grey and industrial. We're outside. We live outside. So what Christina was saying about our project, about exchanging inside outside, is something that we need to promote. Even not in this workshop, but in your own natural lives as designers, engineers, thinkers, philosophers, artists, whoever you are. Next. So this is part of my research right now. And last year, I did an interview in the States with Travel and Leisure magazine. And they us what the future of commercial aviation is, I said trains. Because I think we've got to stop flying more and stay on the ground. I think we should be enjoying the terrestrial experience. When you fly on a plane, London to Tokyo, you're above the clouds, and that's very beautiful. And what they do is, they show you movies to keep you quiet, and then they turn the heat up a little bit, so you go to sleep. They treat you like a child. That's 12, 14 hours of total wasted life. And by the way, I never sleep on aircraft, and I am sleep asleep the whole thing, but I work on planes, and I use the time not to be with people. Because I think it's a magic moment to think, because it's a technological dream. So, you fly to Tokyo, and to fly to Tokyo, you fly over all these incredible places. And I think, ooh, why can't I press a button and look below the clouds? Why can't I find out what these people wear? What is their language? What is their culture? You fly over all these cultures, and then you arrive in Tokyo, and you're delivered, whoa, you're not introduced. It's all instant. Oscar Niemeyer, the great architect, he didn't like to fly. So he used to take the boat from Sao Paulo or Rio, wherever, to Europe. On the boat, he used to read a book on he used to, on the boat, he used to learn the language. He used to read about people he was going to have dinner with. So when he arrived, he got a dinner, and he knew all this stuff, so he was great in the conversation. He'd understand some of the language, and what a wonderful thing. Slowing it down and investing in education. So the act of flying is not educational, and by the way, I worked on the first A380 program before it was ever built on the planning of it. I did Japan Airlines, all Japan Airlines. I was asked to do the Qantas program that Mark is doing now. And I worked on the Lufthansa A380 program. And on the Lufthansa program, you think Germans are pretty civilized, and they are, and whatever. But they're, sorry, I'm going to get beaten up and even the escort when I leave here. They say to me, but Mr. Lovegrove, could you design a toilet that closes and then we open it again over the exit so that we can get one extra row of seats on this aircraft? So forget it. You're not going to get on an aircraft smoking a cigar in a jacuzzi with bikini on. None of those visions of improvements of life, the utopian visions, will ever come. It's about getting your bum on a seat, giving you the minimum, and getting you somewhere. It's not about experience. So, trains. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could go from Paris to Beijing on a train? Super high speed, magnetic levitation train, yeah? Which is solar assisted, so it's not running on solar, but it helps a bit. So you develop a shape which gives you this surface. Now, on a train, you can go for a run, you can have a swimming pool, you can do what you want. You have no pressurization issues. So you feel terrible going around because humidity is so low. You end up like Ramses II when you get off the plane. You are so dehydrated, you could go straight in a museum. It's a terrible experience, and they haven't talked about it because of radiation issues and all those things. Anyway, so being on the ground is a very different experience. Next. So I was thinking, a train for 1,000 people, 1,000 kilometers an hour. One on a track. So you're never going to crash into anything because there's only one on the track. Next. So you want to go for a run, you go for a run along the spine of the train. We've got these beautiful solar skins. The view out of the window is incredible. You enjoy nature. You see it all. And maybe, because it is a bit slower in a certain way, you can think about the cultures around you. Next. A At the front of the train, it's absolutely the front of the train, you just have this beautiful viewing gallery. This thing's whizzing along at 1,000 kilometers an hour, and you feel super safe. You can't do that on a plane. You're all strapped in the seats with the safety belt and, turbulence. You don't get turbulence on the ground. Next. Next. This is the pilot down here. Next. And okay. Now, you see this. This is kind of interesting too, because this structure here is quite a big structure. And even the extra surfaces I try and use for solar collection. But what we're thinking is that what you could do is you could build living pods. You can build agricultural towns under here, which are incredible, but you deliver services along the spine. So the people who live in the agriculture community have a much more kind of high-tech, progressive, futuristic living environment than people in cities. So we encourage people to go and grow some vegetables so we can eat. Because nobody wants to grow vegetables anymore. They all want to deal with hedge funds or be a designer. And unless we get people growing stuff, we're not going to eat anything. And we have a massive population issue. So maybe ideas like this, they permeate new possibilities, for the way the world might go. They are ideas. No concept means no investment. No investment means no future. Next. Thank you very much. Does anybody want to ask me any questions? No. Oh, yes. Okay. So,
Yes.
Just about your opinion about people, young designers like us, developing new things, how to deal with how new it is or how innovative it is, and things.
well, I'm teaching you. And you made some progress. Yeah? Because we're trying to understand each other in the way that you try to work. Okay? So, your project. No, I know, but I'm just. Okay. So you made good progress with your project in some way because you took some of the thoughts on nature, you took some of the thoughts on feelings, emotions, you took the technology, you're developing something. Part of this brief that we're working on, because of the client being Sarah Lunga, and Sarah Lunga needs to sell some stuff, means that if it's something you can put into a happy hour for cocktails, they'll make it. I think that's pretty sad that you need a happy hour to make an object. But maybe we need to lighten up. And my message is, as a designer concerned about our collective world, by the way, the Earth is fine. It's humans that have the problem. No Earth, no humans. No Earth, no humans, great Earth. The Earth is fine. And one of the problems we have right now is that people say, oh, what are we doing for the third world? Well, I actually think it's very controversial, and I don't design for the third world, because I live in the first world. I don't live in the third world. I live in the first world. I think the first world needs help. You are the first world. You are the next world. So the way you think becomes the moral target, the target for the third world who want to be like us. That's the problem. It's the problem with China and Gucci and whatever it is that they aspire to. They override. Why do they knock their buildings down and build new buildings? They don't preserve any of the culture because they're trying to build bigger buildings than us. Whatever it is that they do. We need to lead by example, and you are the new generation. But what I want to say to you is, this is not a boring, hippie, grey suit thing. This is sexy. And when you get people like Bill McDonough, if you look at Bill McDonough and Michael Baumgarten, who did Cradle to Cradle, I love their message. I think the message is really great. It's all in place, but they're really dull people. I mean, there's no kind of sexiness, and there's no effervescence, and there's no joy. And I think we should stay joyful in our creativity, even if we don't get a perfect solution. I think we should try to put design, nature, and art together in some way. That's my message. I don't expect you to be exactly the same, but I think it's pretty good. And I get out of bed in the morning believing in it. I don't have a problem with it. I spent 25 years trying to find that, and I found it, and now I get out of bed every morning, and I feel like I know what I'm doing. And the age is mine, because it's all going this way. It's going digital, it's going new materials, it's going scientific, it's going biological. It's going that way. And I would encourage you, lovely people, to enjoy it. I don't know if that answers your question, but I enjoy talking. Anything else? What's going on here? Yeah. Hello.
I'm saying something stupid just then. You call your work supernatural, and also some a mix between organism and simplicity. I think that these are two opposite words, but you can mix these two words very well. My question is this: when you start a project, you start and you say, okay, now I have to do natural things, or no, you have a concept, then it becomes like this because it's your style.
Sort of a good question. My friend Luigi Cappellini, look him up if you don't know who he is, he's amazing. Luigi, he looks at nature too, okay? So if he's doing a boat, he looks at whales and the way that whales swim, and then he takes that information and he puts it into modern objects. Now, I think that's a bit too direct. That's how we just copy something, the look of it is a bit, it's okay, but it's not, there's nothing intellectual about that. That's just copying the shades, bless you. So I'm interested in that because that emotionally charges me, but I don't design like you're saying. Look at my suitcase. Nothing really okay about the suitcase, and I explain to you exactly why. And it takes a lot of courage to explain something that way if you're trying to be understood. Okay? So the rule always was, and Christina will maybe even, I don't know if you want to talk about this idea that all the people who have a very identifiable language in their work, they don't go off grid for their language. So Ron doesn't, Mark doesn't, they just don't do that. So I do, because I can't justify pure form when other things really are more vital. If you're going to reproduce objects for humanity, you have to control your emotions sometimes, because it is a service sometimes. It is. It's most from the least and all that. So I choose where to put my real energy with form. When I draw super complex organic things. And then when I design, I don't do super organic things. Because most of the time you don't need it. Zaha, look at Zaha. Zaha makes everything organic. So she does a table, it looks like a bridge, which looks like a building, which looks like a table, which looks like but it's not, it's beautiful. And I was just in Sagrada Familia in Barcelona 2 weeks ago. Blew my mind, as it does. Because it's form and it's space. I thought, whoa, I'm amazed. So emotions, I learned a lesson there that I shouldn't be on my horse telling people what to do. Because there are things that just need to exist because of emotions. Not just because it's not cool because it works. You got me? And that's the problem with industrial designers. That's what makes it cultureless. Is they try and justify what they do. Aren't I good because? Maybe there's just an emotional condition. If you look at the history of Italian design, which she's married to one of the greats, You know, is when you talk to these people, they're fabulous because they're art-based. They're free in the way that they want to. It's like the campanas who are they're totally free. They think, you know, but we're really great friends. And I look what I do. I don't do what they do. But what if you got 2 seconds. When I was a little boy, we had no money, and we used to have wood delivered for the fire. We had a coal fire. We used to have paper bags delivered, this big, like those New York bags, those paper bags, brown, that you get with lovely up. And they were stitched down the edge. And they carried offcuts of wood from the wood ebbies, mahogany, teak. They were all triangles, I remember. And I was like 6 years old, so I don't know any of this anymore. But I know I was the height of the bag. So I had a relationship with this bag. And the smell of the bag, and the brand new paper in the bag. And we didn't have any money, so my father said, here's a hammer, here's some nails, make yourself something. So I make myself something, like a gun that's like the Incredible Hulk, all nailed together. And then at the end of the day, my father used to put it on the fire. So I learned not to be too attached to what I do, and always to have another idea. I'm not precious. So I'm unlimited because of that. But if you look at Umberto and Fernando's beautiful chair with all the wood, I understand that completely. I could have made that. But if I told anybody, they'd never believe me. Because they say, oh, Lovegrove, he's white, and he's all organic. I'm not. It's just part of what I do. And I'm trying to find a new way of working, which is not about me. It's more about the ideas that I deliver. I'm working with scientists and great engineers. So I become a philosophy. And I ask clients not to ask me to design something. I ask them to share my philosophy. If they don't want to do that, I don't go near them. And if nobody wants to do that, I'll go move somewhere in Bali or something. Because I just think that's what it should be. Would you agree? I don't know how you feel about that, Christine. I mean, it's a different thing. We got to go for dinner soon, and it's really hot up here. Anything else? Anybody? Questions? I'm not going to talk tomorrow.
It's maybe a really ridiculous question, but maybe as a young designer, you go to the company, you propose something, and you get rejected to lose. Does a Ross Lovegrove ever get rejected? How does he react to that?
Great question. Can I tell you with profound arrogance, I reject them. I'll give you a couple of indications. 6 weeks ago, Lamy, the pen company, Lamy, German, they came to see me. And I knew that Constantine did a project for Lamy. Yep. So I call Constantine and I say, Lamy's come to see me. He says, oh God, terrible people. And he said, don't touch it. I said, okay. So they come to see me. And I'm interested in industrial products too. So I thought that's an interesting site because I'd like to do a pen. And it's Lamy, and if I was your age, I would die to work for Lamy. And I'm not your age. And I'm like an art director, so I just tell you how the pleasure have you seen this? It's my aftershave. It's great. I don't mind. It's but I'm doing a new perfume for Narciso Rodriguez because he's a friend and he asked me, so I did. So they do it for money. So he's a great guy, and a guy that comes from New York to my studio to ask me to do something. I love him. And I said, is there anything you like in my studio? He says, I love that 3D print of that motorbike. I said, I did. Anyway, so Lamy come to my studio. I got a guy in a grey suit here, and another guy in a grey suit there, and I got shit trainers on, I got some crappy pants, I haven't had a bath for a week. And I don't care, because it's my studio, and that's the way I am. So they come in, and they're a little bit surprised, because my studio is kind of interesting, I've got lots of things around. And they say, oh yes, we had a meeting and we want to work with you, and we work with Cappellini, and remember, which is interesting. So after about an hour, they say, would you come to Wiesbaden, and Vegan, whatever it is? And I said, you know what? I said, no. I said, why should I go to a factory in Germany when we don't have a contract yet? I mean, you're asking me to give up my time to get on a plane, to go and look around the factory, and I talk a lot, so I'm going to tell you everything I know. And I don't even know if we're working together. No. They're shocked by that. Because that sounds arrogant. It's not arrogant. It's just like, I value my time. So then they say, the marketing guy says, yeah, I would like to tell you what we need from you. And he pulls out this brief. He says, we need a pen for women. Women. Not for swimming. But women. So this is strange features. So, Eurotrash. So basically, I go see me. I said, pray tell me, what is a pen for a woman?
What is the difference?
Please. We were talking the other night about conferences about women designers. Well, you start that one. We don't have conferences, men designers. It's a big one, but it's a point. Yeah, it's a point. Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't like the arrogance of gender. I think you just make a beautiful thing. So I said, look, with all respect, I said, you're in my studio, and I'm 49 years old, and I have a lot of success in what I do. Why didn't you ask me what I would like to do for you? Wouldn't that be a better idea? I mean, I could art direct you tomorrow, because I think about these things. He says, oh, yeah. I said, look, I'd like to do 3 pens, and I'd like to take the refill that you make. Why put a refill in another metal body? Why can't the refill be the pen? That's kind of interesting. So I give a few ideas, and then he says, well, write me a proposal. I write him a proposal, and I ask for £20,000 for each design concept, plus a royalty. 20,000, so maybe 25,000 euros for each design. I have to turn over between 2.5 and 3 million euros a year just to stand here. So that money, I can take that money and throw it. This is big business, industrial design. Industry runs the world. That camera, your shoes, this microphone, it runs the world. A footballer, people who be begging to get them. You got a signing on fee, we got Ronaldo. Well, what's the difference with designers? I mean, we're doing a lot these days, so there needs to be a new kind of level with all this. So they write me a letter back and say, it was very nice to meet you, with the bubble that comes out of it saying, we really didn't enjoy meeting you. This is the reality of it. And then it says, we can't possibly afford those kind of prices. I was really happy actually, because I don't want to work with people like that who don't respect the value of what we do. So I'm helping you guys, girls, because I'm pushing all the time, and I say no all the time at my own expense, because I just want to lift it up to a new level. I mean, I do a CNN program that goes to 300 million people talking about the future. If you come to me and ask me to design a pen, and on the program I pick up my pen and say, look, it was a refill, and I realized that from the same material you could make a pen. You know what that's worth? They are stupid. So my aim is to be my own brand. I don't want to work for companies. I want to do my own things, like an artist, like Issey Miyake, no compromise. Do your own photography, do your own products, in whichever way you want, in your own shops, with your own stuff. And Mark wants to do it. I know it was a few of us want to do it. And that may be the way it goes. Because it's really difficult to be stretched all the time and not be paid well and all the effort that goes in. We know this.
Yes.
So, gosh, we're going to start.
On Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, maybe we should leave it.